Okay, we are Group 7, and this is the news and updates for the investment banking world for week ending April 2nd through the 7th. To start off, we'll talk a little bit about some equity financings that have been going on. There haven't been any debt or convertible financing, mostly just a couple IPOs that have come out. The first one is Palo Alto Networks Incorporated. They're the maker of fast-growing maker of online security products. They plan for an IPO, and they're offering to sell up to $175 million in common stock. The other company announcing plans for an IPO is Bloomin' Brands Incorporated. They are the parent company of a few notable restaurants such as Outback Steakhouse and Carrabba's Grill. They plan to offer up to $300 million in common stock to help pay down a large debt load taken on from its 2007 private equity buyout by Bain Capital Partners LLC and Catterton Management Company. Now moving on to some updates in the merger markets. Ship International Incorporated, based out of Salt Lake City, recently made a key acquisition in the immunity support sector of the supplement industry. Ship acquired Airborne Incorporated for $150 million in cash, mostly financed with debt. Ship expects that this acquisition to begin adding to earnings during the first half of fiscal 2014. Go back to this slide again. Coty Inc., one of the most notable producers of perfumes and colognes, expressed strong interest in acquiring Avon products. Coty had offered earlier in the week to buy Avon for $10 billion. The offer was immediately rejected, however, by Avon as they felt it was far too low. Two bits of merger news arisen from the pharmaceutical industry is that Spectrum Pharma, whose recent cancer drug has failed to show statistically significant benefits, is poised to acquire Allos Therapeutics Incorporated, the maker of a different cancer drug, for up to $206 million in cash, plus additional consideration if certain milestones are met. The second company looking to buy another one is Bristol Myers. They're interested in buying Amylin Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, and they're watching to see how one of their top shareowners, Carl Icahn, presses them for demand to pursue a sale. Bristol Myers had initially offered $22 a share for Amylin, but that was rejected as Amylin thought it was too low. The deal is also thought to have been rejected due to the fact that Amylin was planning to do an IPO on their own during the same time. Okay.
Here are some update on economy. U.S. economy is coming back with our eyes on unemployment rate 8.3, but monthly net change in non-farm payrolls are going up, but less than expected. So the stock market is tempted by that news. Fed stays in hold for launching new measures to boost economic growth. So Treasury bonds were hit especially hard on Tuesday. A yield jumped up to 2.284, and the market tend to. Here is some graph for factory order is rebounding, and the service sector expands more slowly. For PMI data is coming out, but less than expected. So it's just Eurozone plan to economic slowdown. Eurozone unemployment rose to 10.8% in March, according to Eurostat. Retail sales were also dropping down, and the PMI data is dropping down. ECB chief stressed also stressed about inflation risk. Spanish bonds underscores a serious problem during their first auction. These are some graph of European PMI and GDP stacks. Japan's economy returns to growth. Both their PMI point is going up, and upturn broad-based across manufacturing and services. They are looking really good for Q2. China has mixed signals about their economy. It's their government saying that this year's GDP growth rate is going to be less than 8%, but they still have a very strong PMI signal. China consumer prices rise faster than estimated, 3.6%, which indicates they still have very high inflation risk. Most of all, China raises foreign investment quota with their new financial industry reform happening in Wenzhou. Other highlights about economy is solid upturn in global economy continuing in March. Russian forecasts slower growth. Latin American is still in very good growth.
With President Barack Obama signing the Jobs Act in the Rose Garden on Thursday, the crowd will start taking for the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to come up with rules to regulate the nascent crowdfunding industry. Under the Act, small business can raise up to $1 million in equity funding over the internet through portals and websites that will have to register with the SEC, which has about 270 days from the Act signing to come up with rules for the industry. A group of 13 crowdfunding websites, which including sites like Crowdfunder, Indiegogo, and Somolan, they are beginning work on a self-regulatory organization for the industry to protect investors and business from fraud. Congress is currently debating whether to reauthorize the charter for the Export-Import Bank of the United States. Most of the debate has focused on whether the economic and public policy rationale still exists for the federal government to involve itself in helping private firms finance their exports. Under the accounting rules mandated in the Federal Credit Reform Act of 1990, the bank is allowed to trade its loan guarantees as risk-free in consideration of potential losses. Using these rules, the Export-Import Bank's largest loan program, with $21 billion in estimated new guarantee volume in 2012, post an effective return of 1.68%. Thus, its profits for 2012 will likely total around $354 million. Fair value accounting better incorporates the likelihood of loan default into its discounting considerations. By using this method, bank administrators could better assess the losses that the bank incurs at the expense of taxpayers. Loan program data available from the Office of Management and Budget, including loan volume, default rate, net of recovery, and interest rate, provide enough information to develop a crude cash flow model for the 2012 loan guarantees. Next, by adjusting the assumed U.S. Treasury discount rate to incorporate market risk premiums, the 1.68% positive return becomes a 0.69% loss. This causes the $354 million in profits from the largest loan program to become $200 million in losses, realized alongside rampant losses from smaller programs. This thoroughly undermines the argument by advocates of the bank that it has a net positive return for taxpayers. U.S. stocks followed those around the rest of the world downward a day after minus from the latest Federal Reserve meeting suggests further monetary stimulus was unlikely, and a disappointing Spanish debt action rekindled Eurozone concerns. The Dow Jones Industrials and S&P were down 1% and the Nasdaq slide 1.5%. Gold at the last Thursday afternoon, London fixed dropped $55.25 to $1,621. Copper were down 3.3%. WTI spot crude was down $2.45 to $101.47. In Europe, strong miners helped hold European equity markets into positive territory on last Thursday, after a choppy day's trade. The pan-European FTSE Europe First 300 closed up 1.25 points at 1,052. In Asia, stocks were down after the Federal Reserve voiced concern about the pace of job growth, but refrained from announcing more monetary stimulus. The Nikkei dropped 2.3%.
Recent news: Jamie Dimon received $23 million for his services in 2011. In that light, he wrote a 38-page message to shareholders. I'm going to highlight a few key points. He first said that he feels the value of their stock price is at a good price, but it's still very conservative for the value that shareholders receive. That's why they plan on purchasing shares in order to fund the compensation for employees in the future. In other news, a trader took some large positions in credit default swaps, and hedge funds are trying to make opposing bets. And it's just fascinating how one man can move the market so much. I probably wouldn't bet against this guy because He made $100 million for the bank last year. Just to get an idea of how vastly he moved the market, he bought an index that originally in March 30th went from $93 billion to $145 billion. Lastly, if you don't like paying capital gains tax, you need to take a look at iShare funds. Last year, 99% of their funds did not pay capital gains tax.
Quick update on the hedge fund market. Former hedge fund manager Vincent McCrudden was sentenced to 28 months in jail for making death threats to current and former government officials and industry regulators. The Hedge Fund Association is praising President Obama for signing the Jobs Act, which will allow hedge funds to market to potential investors more freely than they had been able to previously. This year's Forbes 400 list of richest Americans includes many big-name hedge fund managers. The highest one was at the number 7 spot, George Soros, and at number 17, John Paulson. Hedge fund manager Bill Ackman is playing a key role in bringing Burger King back to the New York Stock Exchange to be publicly traded with an investment firm he founded. The Financial Times reported that the South Korean hedge fund industry is not doing so well, mainly due to restrictions by the government. The hedge fund industry was legalized late last year, and since then only 17 firms have been launched and only $440 million in capital has been raised. The LBO market update: U.S. and European funds have had the best fundraising quarter since the fourth quarter of 2008, with the U.S. raising $38.1 billion and European markets raised $22.3 billion. Toys R Us continues to have struggles after 2 years of being held private to come back into the public as a traded company, mainly due to defecting by the management and a downgrade on their debt. And this concludes our presentation.